Today we're talking about completing the square. So you're going to use trinomial equations which have three terms and monomials on one side of the equation. On the other side of the equation is a zero or a constant of some number. So it has ax squared plus bx plus c equals d, where a is not zero, because if it's zero then we don't have a trinomial. So this first example, we're going to solve this perfect square trinomial. So we're going to have to factor first. So what multiplies to 4 and adds to 4? Well, 2 and 2. So it's x plus 2 squared equals 25. So how am I going to get the squared to go away? Well, I'm going to take the square root. And then I have x plus 2 equals 5, because the square root of 25 is 5, but remember you have to add the plus or minus. So now to solve, I have x plus 2 equals 5 and x plus 2 equals negative 5. So I have x equals 3 or x equals negative 7. So those are my solutions. So now to complete the square, you're going to find the solution of quadratic equations using square roots. If one side of the equation is not a perfect square, we can make it a perfect square by adding a constant to both sides of the equation. So this is where that thing where we divided the middle term by 2 and squared it came into play. So we're going to find the solutions of x squared minus 12x plus 5 equals 0 by completing the square. So I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides. So we have x squared plus 12x, and I'm going to leave a little space here on both sides because I'm going to add something, but we don't know what that something is yet. So this is where I'm going to take the middle term, which is negative 12, and divide it by 2 and get negative 6, and then I'm going to square that and get positive 36. So when I factor this thing on the left side, I'm going to use that right there. That number will always be the number that goes in the parentheses. And then negative 5 plus 36 is positive 31. So now I am going to square root both sides. I'm going to have x minus 6 equals plus or minus. The square root of 31 does not simplify, so it just stays as the square root of 31. And then I'm going to add 6 to both sides. So x equals 6 plus or minus the square root of 31. And you don't need to give me the decimal approximation, that is fine. So now problem 3 says find the complex solutions. So that means I'm going to have some i's in here. So I'm going to have x squared minus 8x plus a blank equals negative 41 plus some other blank that we don't know yet. So I'm going to go and take this middle term, negative 8, and divide it by 2 and get negative 4. And then square that number and get positive 16. So positive 16 is what goes in my blank. And then this left side factors x minus 4 squared, because this number right there. And negative 41 plus 16 is negative 25. And I'm going to square root both sides. So x minus 4 equals, and when I take the square root of negative 25, I have to pull out a plus or minus 5i. And the I comes from the negative. So then I have x equals 4 plus or minus 5i. And those are your solutions.